Today we're at Manly. We're going on the Cat o' Nine Tails on a trip, a historical tour to St Helena Island, which we got off Groupon. It's a really good price actually. There's a market on today though, so it's been absolutely horrendous trying to find somewhere to park. If you come on this trip, I would suggest maybe come early to try and find a car park space. But we got on one of the side streets and it's like 5 minutes walk. Hopefully we're going to be on time. We're thereabouts within a few minutes of when we should be here. So
it's all free parking around here.
Oh, it's all free parking by the way, but just watch out, some of them have actually got time limits, but on your street you're okay. Alright, so we are walking down now to William Gunn Jetty, where the tour departs from. Get some really good reviews, so we're looking forward to a good day out. We're on the boat now. Unfortunately we didn't get upstairs. We are inside and it's pretty hot and pretty steamy today. But we're all checked in, we're double vaxxed and checked, we are masks on. I'm not sure how long the journey across is, but yeah, let the adventure begin.
On the guard, and that's 321, our most malnourished prisoner. And that's 31. You'll hear him calling from the background from time to time. Now, this is not like an American or a British or European national park where there's wonderful cafes and shops and everything. Mate, this is Australia. We got nothing. You're lucky there's even a bit of mowed grass over there for you to walk on.
So we've come outside the front of the boat and it's a lot more pleasant. Bit of breeze, it's a nice warm day, but that little bit of breeze cools it down as well. So let's have a quick look around.
At the clouds are absolutely spectacular on the sky.
So the island we're going to, I think, is that one right ahead with the two pines. So the way it works is when you get on, you get a ticket because they make the lunches individually. You get a ticket for your lunch. They've got a bar on the boat, but there's nothing on the island. So what you do is you can order your drinks, either soft drinks or alcoholic drinks. There's a reasonable selection. There's a couple of beers, a James Squire or Corona, there's Coke, Diet Coke, water, and some wine. You can just order them, and then they take them onto the island, and you have them with your lunch. So that's the way that works. So we have now docked at the little jetty at St Helena Island. Let's go and see what it has to offer. St Helena Island is a national park, so all the national park rules apply. No leaving anything here. Respect the whole buildings and all these rules normally for national parks. So this wall is what remains of the boathouse. Just one wall left. The boathouse was actually built in 1868 to store small boats used to transport passengers and goods from vessels moored offshore. In later years, these boats were used to fish and patrol the island foreshores.
Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, welcome to St Helena Island. Now, before we talk specifically about St Helena, we'd like to give you a little bit of a pre-prison history on where St Helena fits in Brisbane's historical timeline. So,
during this time, the guide gave us a lot of informative information about Australia, Queensland and St Helena, but I'm not going to spoil it by letting you hear it now.
Peaceful life, the Quandamooga people, they called this island Nugoon Island, home of the fruit bat or flying fox.
Our guide has just given us an excellent rendition of the history of Queensland and how St Helena became to be named and what it was used for. So now we're having a walk over the fields to somewhere else. Not really sure where we're going, but we'll find out, I guess.
So just up the path we come to the lime kiln. This I presume is the exhaust. I don't know a great deal about lime kilns, but if we head down the steps now, we can go to the fireplace of the lime kiln.
Just at the top of the lime kiln, we have one of two cemeteries, I believe.
this one being the children's cemetery. And this is the prisoners' cemetery. There are no names on the crosses, just their administrative numbers so that they weren't identifiable on their crosses. So now we're off to see the old sugar mill.
So ladies and gentlemen, these are the remains of the sugar mill. It's impossible to overstate how important sugar was to St Helena. The whole prison only cost £4,000 to build. But at its height, sugar cane alone was making £15,000 a year clear profit. Word started to
So after a bit of a walk up Sugar Mill Road, we're now at the old sugar mill, and the guide is giving us a talk about sugar production on the island and the convicts' involvement in that and the importance of it in the economy. He also tells some very interesting stories about what went on in the field and what the convicts did to try and get out of some work. Again, I'm not going to spoil that for you now. I'll leave you to go on the tour and learn about that yourself.
And on his desk, he has a jar full of fingers. Now before we head up to the stockade, we'll get a couple of things out of the way that people always ask about. The pile of bricks is the remains of the chimney. It lasted all through the prison life, right up until World War II. People forget that Douglas MacArthur was running the Pacific Land War from an office in Queen Street, and it was naturally assumed that Brisbane would be the next target for Japanese bombers. A 50-foot high chimney would have been the perfect marker to line up a bombing run on Brisbane Town. So at the request of the Australian government, the chimney was imploded by the United States Navy. You came around the corner past a St Helena olive tree. St Helena olives and olive oil were world famous. St Helena olive oil won a certificate of merit at the 1889 Paris exhibition, the one they built the Eiffel Tower for. If you ever read or see anything about St Helena olives and olive oil, they're talking about this little island in Moreton Bay, not the one in the South Atlantic, where it rains 300 days out of the year. So please follow the guard up to the stockade.
So we follow this path up to the stockade as we are instructed by our guide. So a little walk up the path, and we are now at the stockade buildings.
The stockade is located in the very centre of the island. The whole island is a prison, but the stockade is located in the centre of it. It was surrounded by a 15-foot high timber wall. That's about 2.5 times my height, or 4.5 metres. There you are. Sir, what items are in your prison kit?
My prison kit consists of boots.
So while we're here, the prisoner describes what's in his prison kit, what he's given when he first comes to the prison, and then the guard explains the different sentences for the different crimes that are committed. So that was really interesting. There's some things in there which might surprise you, but they actually have some good reasoning behind them.
Every 2 weeks, they give them a comb. That's because when they
Watching us prisoners, guards are armed with Martini Enfield 303 rifles. If you don't know anything about guns, that makes a hole about that big going into you, about this big coming out the other side. Out in the fields, all the trees have been cut down to grow crops. Prisoners are dressed in basically bright white. So you're really obvious. You have nowhere to hide, guards have big guns and are excellent shots. Only a complete and total idiot would even consider trying to make a run for it.
Before moving on, the guide tells us about how the buildings are made, how the stones were made, and how the stones got there, which is really interesting, but without giving too much away, it was all done by the prisoners. From here we move around to the kitchen area, where the guide explains to us all the different aspects of the kitchen and how they all work and what was there.
The oven doors are still in them. So we've got the butcher, the baker. Guess who was in the middle? Don't be silly, he was in the workshops. That was bacon slicing and dry goods storage. Now the wall of the cell sticking up there with the triangle shape on top is also the back wall of the oven, the big stack of bricks. The oven is going pretty much all the time, so in winter Oh gosh, it's cosy in that cell. But in summer it got so hot that prisoners would beg the guards to be chained up outside on the ground like dogs to sleep at night. For breakfast, prisoners receive hominy. Hominy is a type of porridge made from corn starch. If anyone has a box of cornflakes at home, you can make something very similar to hominy yourselves. Easy recipe, 3 steps. Step 1, well, you take the cornflakes out of the box, duh. Step 2.
Okay, I'm sorry, this is a secret recipe. I can't put this on the video. If you want to know what the recipe is, you're going to have to go on the tour. Sorry.
And you end up with something that looks and tastes just like hominy.
The guide then goes on to tell us what the prisoners had for lunch and for dinner, and the reasons behind that, and then also what they have as a special Christmas treat. I'll leave that one for you to find out yourself.
Just here is an underground water tank, not a well. Despite what Jack and Jill say, you do not put a well at the top of the hill, so it's the furthest distance from the water table. So please look in and go, woo, if you want to. Otherwise, follow me up to the museum.
So behind me here is the head guard's house, which has now been turned into a museum. We've got about 15 minutes on the tour to look around this, and then lunch. So let's have a quick look around.
Everyone around. And then they give it.
The museum consists of a number of buildings, a number of rooms with various memorabilia from that particular era.
No, thanks. Along the wall here, we've got pictures of the various superintendents and acting superintendents of the prison. So we've had a look around the museum, and now we've just been called for lunch. Let's see the cannon behind me, and then out onto mainland behind. So we'll go and see what treats we've got for lunch. Alison's got quite a lot of avocado, salad and roll, and her vegan one. And I think the veggie one looks pretty similar. Yep. And we are the same with a couple of slices of
Ham and
meat on.
So whilst we're having lunch, the guards and the inmates do a reenactment of some of the punishments that took place at the time and explain the gruesome details behind some of these and who actually carried out these punishments.
So we just finished lunch. That was lovely. Got some ham and some turkey and salad rolls, some biscuits. We have been during lunch. We've been bitten to death by the mozzies. Some pretty big bites on. Just taking the rubbish over, and they actually had some insect repellent there over at the little hut. So we've got a bit of insect repellent on now, and hopefully that will prevent any more on the way back. But they're a bit itchy. So we saw the cannon earlier, and the guide has just given us a description of the cannon, which apparently was on one of the ships at the Battle of Waterloo. I think it was Napoleon's ship actually that it was on.
One February night in 1888, it caught fire and exploded. Blew the roof clean off in one piece, which landed about 20 feet away. There was a pillar of flame shooting into the air, like a rocket engine turned upside down. And you can still see the scorch marks at the top of the walls. The people in Brisbane over there, and remember back then there weren't any high rises, could see that pillar of flame. The quote in the newspaper of the day said, It looked like the finger of God bringing down retribution on the wicked men of St. Helena. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, please follow me down to the stockade. We have seen a high-resolution photograph of one of the guard towers.
We then moved on to the infirmary and the chapel, and the guard gave us a lot of history and information about these particular buildings and how they were made and the architecture of it, as well as you can imagine, with some infirmary and chapel, some ghostly stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to make your way around the corner there, you will see the last remaining cell block from St. Helena.
A wall here, a wall here. That area there is one cell. 12 men. Another 12 there, another 12 there, another 12 there. That is 48 men enclosed in the area you see before you. How'd they fit them in? Well, John McDonald...
Our guide now tells us exactly how they fitted so many men into those cells and the rationale behind how they did it, sort of where the idea came from.
To maximise the room.
Just had the description of the cells and story about one of the prisoners that committed suicide by drowning himself in the tank, and we are now heading down to our final stop of the tour. Not sure where it is or what it is. We will find out soon enough.
Unfortunately, I was unable to get video of the last stop of the day.
The last stop was where the guides gave us a history of the ownership of the island and how it came from being a penal colony to national park that it is today, followed up by a poem which was written by one of the inmates here who became sort of Queensland's first bus ranger. Forget the name, but I'll put the comment, or I'll put the name on here. Yeah, unfortunately I didn't manage to get that on camera, so that would have been quite interesting to have heard the guys doing the rendition of the poem. So now we've got to head back down the track and onto the boat for our journey home. Back on the boat now, and after a hot day, a nice cool cider. It's been a really good day out actually, so well worth the money, well worth the trip, well worth doing. And the guys who run it, the guides, were absolutely fabulous. Really got into character, made us laugh, and they knew their stuff, absolutely knew their stuff. Definitely recommend this tour to anybody who's interested. And if you get a Groupon discount, it's even better.
In a feat of navigation not seen since the days of Magellan, Bligh, Da Gama, Janzoon, Popeye, or Captain Jack Sparrow. Ye old Jeff, guided only by the light of the sun, bouncing off his GPS, has returned us safely to Caloundra. Sorry, we just thought Caloundra was closer to where most of you had to park. No, we're back in Manly again.
So back in Manly now, a great day out, time to disembark and back to the car. Well, it's a lovely day, and it is actually only about 3:20, so what we've decided to do is come just down to Wynnum, next suburb, and get some ice cream and maybe go and sit by the pool and have an ice cream for half an hour. We've got our ice cream.
Sugar and being out in the sun all day.
Mint and cookies, and a plant-based one for Alison, and some rum and raisin for Maddie, and chip-shaped ice cream for Gabby.
My rum and raisin melted a lot by the time we got over here.
Mine is Madagascar vanilla and cocoa brownie in dark chocolate and brownie pieces.
And how is it?
It's delicious, but it's so sweet.
However, an ice cream is a very nice way to top off such a lovely day walking around St. Helena Island and learning about the history of the island. Definitely recommend it. Definitely
The vanilla
worth doing.